Rick, we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football, our weekly USC show. How can the Trojans defense become a more solid tackling team?
Well, I think they've already solved point number one, which is don't have a defense which is coached by Clay Helton and Todd Orlando. That's a really nice starting block. That's a good foundation. But to be a little bit more serious about this, I mean, USC was soft under Helton. And, you know, when we talk about changing a culture, so that it falls upon Alex Grinch to make sure that USC has a really rugged defense. And let's give Alex Grinch credit. Now, you know, he didn't hit a home run at Oklahoma, but I think he hit a long double in terms of improving that defense relative to the dumpster fire it was under Mike Stoops in 2018. Grinch definitely improved that defense. In 2020, the 2020 Oklahoma defense was a legitimately strong defense. It carried that team. It won the Big 12 championship game against Iowa State on the day when the Oklahoma offense failed to score 30 points. The defense did the heavy lifting there. And so there are flaws in the Alex Grinch portfolio. We examined that in the Riley Files. And by the way, all 12 episodes have been released. That series has run its course. But we have the archives at Trojans Wire. So you want to keep listening to that if you haven't unearthed some of the 12 episodes there. But we talked a lot about Alex Grinch, you know, his successes, his failures, you know. So Alex Grinch being able to find the formula at USC that he found with Oklahoma later in his career, especially in that 2020 season, that's what's going to get USC to be a better tackling team. Jumping off of that, it's worth noting that Kalen Bullock in the secondary has been one of the high risers at August camp. You know, if you look at a guy who's really moved up the board in terms of, you know, the most central and valuable Trojans, and 247 Sports has done a great job of reporting here. Shotgun Spratling, Chris Trevino, they deserve credit for their excellent coverage of USC football. They think that, you know, in terms of talking to USC coaches, getting lots of input behind the scenes from the staff, they think that Kalen Bullock, you know, has really made a mark in the secondary. And they also are saying that, you know, the secondary, you know, with Mekhi Blackman, Sierra Wright, you know, who's become much more of a leader than a lot of the coaches frankly expected. You're seeing some growth in the secondary. So that's a very encouraging note. In terms of, you know, the problem or the biggest area of concern, it remains the defensive line. Like, that's been consistent throughout the whole offseason. It's still true now in August camp with Corey Foreman not being able to get much onto the practice field. Romello Height has also been injured to a degree. So that rush end position in particular, part of USC's defensive line. Like, if you want to find the biggest, most central concern with the roster just before week one against Rice, that is it. Now, of course, against Rice, you know, that's a game that the Trojans aren't going to lose. So in many ways, the season opener, not technically, but, you know, unofficially, is that week 2 game against Stanford. It's going to be really interesting to see where Foreman and also Romello Height are in terms of their health, in terms of their comfort within the system, heading into that trip to the farm in Palo Alto in week 2 on September 10.